Ever feel like you're stuck, you know, like in a rut, just repeating the same negative patterns over and over again?
Ugh, tell me about it.
Well, get ready because we're going deep into the world of metaphysics and addiction today.
Sounds intense.
It is. We're going to be exploring this YouTube lecture. It's called Metaphysics 101
Okay.
by someone called Toxic Man. Now,
Toxic man.
I know.
Right.
It's a little out there.
Yeah.
But it just might hold the key to breaking free from those patterns. What do you think?
Okay, I'm intrigued. Definitely an unconventional source.
Right.
But I guess that's what makes it interesting, right?
Exactly.
It blends neuroscience and quantum physics with personal growth in a way that really makes you think
It does.
about reality. Like,
Yeah.
how much control do we actually have over our own lives?
Okay, so let's break this down. The lecture starts by looking at how our brains might actually be, and I'm using air quotes here, addicted to certain emotions, even the negative ones.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever noticed how some people, they just seem drawn to drama
Oh, yeah.
or conflict?
Like they thrive on it.
Almost like they thrive on it, right?
Yeah.
This video, it suggests that our brains, they might actually be wired to seek out those familiar emotional states,
Makes sense.
even if they're causing us pain. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I can see that. It's like our brain is creating this neural net.
Right, a neural net.
Yeah, network of connections between neurons. And the more we experience certain thoughts or emotions,
Uh-huh.
the stronger those connections become, like a well-worn path in the woods.
Yeah.
So if you're constantly, reinforcing negative thought patterns, you're actually shaping your brain to experience more negativity.
So it's like I'm training my brain to be unhappy.
Kind of, yeah.
That's kind of scary.
It is a little bit, yeah.
But is there any way to like break free from these patterns?
Well, that's what's so fascinating about this video. It dives into this concept called, and I love this phrase, nerve cells that fire together, wire together.
Oh, I like that.
It's catchy, right?
Yeah.
But it means that we actually have the power to rewire our brains
Really?
by consciously choosing different thoughts, different behaviors. It's pretty powerful stuff.
So instead of letting my brain just run on autopilot,
Yep,
I can actually like take control
you got it.
and steer it in a more positive direction.
Exactly. And this ties right into the idea of addiction.
Oh,
Think
no.
about it.
Right.
If you're constantly seeking out certain emotions, whether it's, I don't know, excitement or stress, maybe even sadness,
Right.
your brain, it becomes wired to crave those feelings, just like a physical addiction.
I'm starting to see how this all connects, but how does this idea of emotional addiction, like how does it actually play out in our lives?
Well, the video points to this tiny region in our brain called the hypothalamus.
Okay.
It produces these things called neuropeptides.
Neuropeptides, what are those?
They're chemical
That's
messengers.
in zero.
Yeah, they correspond to specific emotions.
Mhm.
And get this, they're incredibly powerful.
Powerful how?
Well, studies have shown that lab animals will choose these neuropeptides over basic needs.
Basic needs.
Yeah, like food and sleep.
Seriously.
It's wild, right?
Wow.
But it just highlights how deeply these chemicals drive our behavior.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So you're saying I might be like unconsciously seeking out situations
It's possible. And
that trigger the release of these, what do you call them? Feel-good chemicals.
Yep.
Even if those situations are ultimately harmful to me.
it definitely happens. You might be drawn to like drama,
Oh, yeah?
conflict, even self-sabotage,
Hmm.
because those experiences, as negative as they are, they provide a familiar hit.
A hit.
Yeah, of those addictive neuropeptides.
So like my brain is saying, hey, I know this feels bad,
Right.
but at least it feels familiar.
Exactly.
That makes sense. It's like, when you should break up with someone,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you keep going back
Oh, the drama.
because the drama is just so...
Addictive. And to illustrate this even further, the video, it uses this analogy of a soybean plant.
A soybean plant. Okay, I got to hear this.
So imagine this soybean plant has gone through a drought, right?
Okay.
Even when it's later given plenty of water, it still acts as if it's in drought mode, holding on to water as if it were scarce.
Wow.
It's a powerful analogy for how our past experiences, particularly traumatic ones, they can shape our present emotional responses.
Even when the circumstances have changed.
Exactly.
So I might be reacting to situations based on old patterns and beliefs,
That happens all the time.
even if those patterns no longer serve me.
Precisely. You're stuck in this feedback loop,
Oh.
recreating those familiar emotional states, even if they're causing you pain.
This is all starting to make me look at my own life in a whole new light.
It's eye-opening, isn't it?
It is.
Really makes you think.
Okay, so, but how do we break free from this cycle? How do we stop recreating these old patterns?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
More interesting.
This is where Toxic Man takes this concept of past experiences even further by bringing in, get this, quantum physics.
Quantum physics.
Of all things, right?
What? This is about emotions. How does that even, like...
It's a pretty wild leap, I know.
Yeah.
But stick with me here. He starts talking about this thing called the observer effect. You familiar?
Not really. Is that, like, something from quantum physics?
Yeah, it suggests that the act of observing something...
Just looking at it.
Yeah, basically it can actually influence its reality.
Hold on, are we saying that just by looking at something we can change it?
That's the basic idea, and it's been, proven in experiments.
Wow.
But what's really fascinating is how Toxic Man connects this concept to consciousness.
Okay.
Suggesting that even our cells, get this, have a certain level of awareness.
Wait, so he's saying our cells are conscious, like they have little brains of their own?
It's not consciousness in the, the way we typically think of it, with thoughts and feelings and stuff.
Right.
It's more about, like, a basic awareness and an ability to, respond to stimuli.
Okay.
But the implication is that if our thoughts and observations can influence reality at a quantum level, no less, then we have, tremendous power to shape our own lives.
Now, that's a concept I can get behind.
Yeah.
But how do we harness that power? How do we go from being passive observers to active creators of our reality?
Well, that's where free will comes in.
Free will.
Yeah. Toxic Man, he argues that free will is possible, like, within the framework of science, precisely because of this unique structure of the human brain.
So we have a choice.
We do. We have the capacity to choose differently, to break free from those habitual thought patterns and emotional addictions.
So I'm not doomed to repeat the same mistakes forever.
Not at all. It's about recognizing you have the power to rewrite your narrative, you know?
Okay, I like that.
You can change those neural pathways.
The well-worn paths, yeah.
Exactly, by consciously choosing new thoughts and behaviors.
But how do we actually do that? It's one thing to say we have free will, but it's another to actually, like, exercise it, especially when those old patterns feel so ingrained.
Right. It's definitely not easy. But Toxic Man, he offers some practical suggestions.
Okay, like what?
He talks about mental rehearsal, like consciously practicing new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling.
Okay.
It's like learning a new skill. The more you practice, the better you get at it.
So it's about retraining my brain, almost like training a muscle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He also emphasizes the power of intention.
Intention, okay.
Like focusing your energy and attention on what you want to, manifest in your life.
This sounds a lot like manifestation, which has become really popular lately.
Yeah, there are definitely parallels, but Toxic Man, he grounds it in a more, I guess, scientific framework, connecting it to, like, neuroscience and quantum physics.
So it's not just wishful thinking.
No, it's about recognizing the power of conscious intention to, like, actually influence reality.
That's pretty powerful.
It is.
But if our thoughts have this kind of power, wouldn't that mean, like, we're also responsible for the bad stuff, for the negative things that happen to us?
He doesn't shy away from that responsibility at all. In fact, he argues we need to be really mindful of what we're putting out there.
Into the world.
Exactly. Our thoughts, our actions, they have a ripple effect.
They do.
Influencing not just us, but also the collective consciousness.
So it's not just about me or you.
No.
It's about everyone.
We're all interconnected.
Wow, this is all pretty mind-blowing stuff. But I have to admit, I'm still a little skeptical. I mean, is there any scientific evidence to support all of this?
Well, it's definitely a fringe idea, to be sure.
Yeah.
And the scientific community, there's, still divided on quantum mechanics and consciousness and all that.
Sure.
However, there is a growing body of research exploring these connections, and some, like, really fascinating studies are starting to emerge.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, for instance, there are studies on the placebo effect.
Right.
Which, suggests that our beliefs, our expectations can have a huge impact on our health.
That's true. I've heard about that.
And then there's, like, epigenetics.
Epigenetics? What's that?
It's showing how our environment, our lifestyle choices can actually change the way our genes are expressed.
Really?
It's pretty wild stuff.
So it's not just, new agey thinking.
No, there's, like, real science behind some of these ideas.
I like that.
Of course, we need more research for sure.
Yeah.
There are still a lot of unanswered questions.
Right?
But it's definitely a fascinating area of exploration, wouldn't you say?
I would. But let's get practical for a second. If we buy into this idea that we have this power to change our reality through our thoughts and intentions, what can we actually do? How do we break free from those old patterns, create a better experience for ourselves? I mean, where do we even begin?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's where Toxic Man's lecture, it really shines.
Okay, tell me more.
Yeah.
All right, so spill the beans. What does Toxic Man suggest we actually do to break free from all these negative patterns?
Well, he says, first of all, we got to start by, just becoming aware of our emotional addictions.
Right.
What are those feelings that we just keep coming back to, even if they're causing us pain,
Yeah.
Do you crave drama? Or maybe stress? Even sadness? Recognizing those patterns, he says that's the first step to breaking free.
Okay, I get that awareness is important, but how do we actually break free? It's one thing to recognize a pattern, but it's another to actually, change it.
He really stresses the importance of, interrupting those habitual thought patterns.
Okay, so, how do we do that?
Well, he uses this great analogy
Okay.
of a record stuck playing the same song over and over again.
Oh, get it.
You got to lift the needle and put on a new record, right?
So it's about consciously choosing a different thought, a different feeling, a different action.
You got it.
Easier said than done, though, right?
It's not easy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But he talks about, redirecting our attention.
Okay.
Focusing on something positive or uplifting when those negative thoughts and feelings start to creep in.
Okay, so replacing the bad thoughts with good thoughts.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about when those negative thoughts are, really persistent? What if they just keep coming back?
That's where forgiveness comes in.
Forgiveness.
Yeah, he's a big believer in the power of forgiveness, forgiving ourselves and others. Holding on to resentment and anger, he says it just keeps us tethered to the past.
Yeah, it's hard to let go sometimes, though.
It's really hard, for sure. But he suggests that forgiveness is ultimately an act of self-love.
Self-love, okay.
It's about releasing ourselves from that burden of the past so we can actually create a more joyful and fulfilling present,
That's a nice way to think about it. So we're breaking those old patterns, we're forgiving ourselves and others. What else can we do to, create that more positive reality?
He also talks about finding our purpose.
Our purpose.
Yeah, our unique contribution to the world. He argues that when we align ourselves with our purpose, we tap into this source of energy and motivation that kind of transcends our personal limitations.
It's about finding something that gives our lives meaning.
Exactly.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
But what if I don't know what my purpose is?
That's okay. A lot of people don't. But he encourages us to, explore our interests, try new things.
Okay.
Pay attention to what lights us up,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something grand or extraordinary. It can be something simple, something that brings us joy.
Okay.
Allows us to, express our gifts and talents,
So just to recap, Toxic Man is saying we have the power to break free from these emotional addictions by first becoming aware of our patterns, interrupting the negative thoughts, choosing forgiveness, and aligning ourselves with our purpose.
That's it. It's a lot to take in, but it's pretty inspiring stuff, wouldn't you say?
It is. And what's so cool about this lecture is that it weaves together all these different fields: neuroscience, quantum physics, personal growth. It creates this really empowering framework.
It does.
For understanding ourselves and our potential.
I think Toxic Man might be onto something.
Me too. So what does this all mean for you listening out there? If our cells really do have this level of consciousness and we're constantly shaping reality just by observing it, what does that mean for you? What emotions are you craving? Are they serving you? What can you do starting today to rewrite your narrative and create a life that is truly fulfilling?
These are the questions we all need to be asking ourselves. There are no easy answers, but the first step is awareness, and then taking action.
It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey we can all take. So keep exploring these ideas, keep asking questions, and keep challenging yourself. That's what makes life an adventure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.